chart and recap on how last week ended, and move into what potentially we have and moving into this week. I do think we may have some, what I want to say, like the ETFs may be going maybe down and stalling, while I feel like the tech may be going up and just continue going up. That's like my overall sentiment of at least those two industries and how I feel since I follow those the most. And so because I'm looking at this particular formation with the futures, right? And this could still be, it can retrace right here, it can slowly, totally start giving us the signs of, that it wants to go up from here. But right now, I don't see anything. And this is the daily, of course, we're doing our top-down analysis per usual. And I could even come out to the week at first and see how we ended the week. So the week looks like, typical indecision. You get to this level, you get an indecision candle type of like consolidation, and then we continue up to the top. I think we all do still hold a bullish underlying sentiment that we can still rise a little bit more. But the issue is we have to retrace in order to do that. So what does a retracement or what does a consolidation period look like? And that's always where we're just kind of like a little hesitant to hold trades during this time, which you should be. So as we come down here, I think we'll bounce off this daily fair value gap. So everything I've marked here on the chart is in relation to the candlestick patterns. Nothing more, just candlesticks. It's all I'm charting right now is just candlesticks to get everyone familiar with not only the candlestick patterns, but understanding how they kind of create support and resistance within these patterns that they're making. So right now, the main things that I squared off was the fair value gaps that showed up on my fair value gap indicator. And I did one at the bottom for the support and one at the top for the resistance. And price is right in the middle right now. So when I come down to my 2-hour, based off of that, I see a nice downward trend. So I always like to come in now and dissect from what I see on the daily. And I believe that we may want to retrace or trace down into this fair value gap and collect this liquidity. This move is not very big. So my concern with it, which is why I didn't hold any SPY over the weekend, was that it would fill this overnight and come back up. And I wouldn't be certain as to which way price was really moving for the day if it did that. There is a very good opportunity to play just the futures here in this particular case for my futures fans. So, right. So if you like to trade the futures and you don't have to wait, you just trade the futures while it does this move. And then you assess after you make your money on future, how you want to play the SPY and or the SPX with the daily futures move, right? Based on the liquidity sweeps that you see on the futures. So I like so far, this is the setup I'm looking to take around 6 o'clock, depending on what moves. We don't really have much Forex Factory red folder tomorrow. We pretty much have nothing. And then we'll just be kind of waiting I don't know how much waiting because Federal Powell is speaking in Portugal. And so I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. So that's my disclaimer. I'm just not sure. So I'm going to, kind of gauge from there, like from Monday, from tonight, kind of see how the market wants to push through, or we still kind of consolidate and bounce. If we're kind of gonna move or not, like we just gotta see. Like Monday is gonna tell me a lot. So, but if I were to look at the moves, all we're focused on, right, is one move at a time. So this is our first futures move, right? Like everything about this 2-hour is telling me that it will most likely take out the liquidity down here. And it has retested across this level. So if I were to draw another line just for teaching purposes, and I'll make it yellow. Okay. And I'll make it solid. All right. So if we're looking at this level here based off of previous data. So I'm on the 2 hour, I'm kind of at the bottom, right? Price came up and price ended here on Friday. And I'm always comparing my current data to previous data, and I see why price has been so bouncy off of this area, because we have some significant chop here. So because it had bounced a couple times, we have a few candles and then broke. So this candle, it broke in an interesting way. I would say a nice break would have been, this candle coming through this line based on how I drew it. But instead, it kind of stopped here. And then the next candle is definitely below this line. So that is still a good sign overall that price is coming down. It may be wonky, but I do believe it still wants to come down and take out the remaining of its liquidity. It kissed the top of this. We technically have left some kids into this fair value gap twice, so we need to come down and get the kids. That's my other mythology. I'm always putting stuff to children as a mommy. Can't help it. So that's how I'm looking at the futures. All right. So that's one setup that we can look into. And let's go to the 30-minute just to see even further. We want as many confluences as we can get on this particular move in order to take it. So, shoulders are coming. We're getting lower highs, right? This peak is higher when I put my cursor on it. I like the cross lines. I mean, I know some people don't, but I like it because I could just do this right here and see if something broke. I don't have to add a line to it. I could just put my cursor and be like, oh, did it break the level? Looking at that dotted line, oh no, it didn't break the level. I'm done. Like, this is how I use that as quick guide to see where I'm at. Are we getting high? Are we getting low? Did you break my level or not? Right? So here we're chopping up. It could do a W dance. All right, be forewarned. It could do a W dance, but just the amount of liquidity down here, and it's so close, and it's been falling all week. I just believe that that's the move that it wants to take next. All right, and so I see the rejection wicks, but again, it can just be bouncing its way down here. So we'll see how it wants to do. We'll see if it just continues to bounce and then it does a breakaway and say this really does hold a support and it breaks to the upside. Look, I have no problem, but it's just what I feel right now. Okay, I feel like it's gonna come down. All right, so let's get into I'll go from here to the SPY. I'm thinking, we'll assess that in the morning once the futures does its thing. So from here, I'll go to Adobe, since that's one of our fan favorites as of lately. And because it's been really doing the assignment. So looking at the daily, Adobe looks really kind of like it's turning around, but it could still come down. So I did take a gamble bet on Adobe that it was going to continue to go up to at least finish. I come down to the 2 hour quickly because this is the move I want you to see. So I had thought to get an Adobe here on Friday as it was coming up in to take this fair value gap, because this particular pattern I haven't seen as much before, and I may still need to work on some other indicators here to, not really indicators, but just what I need to see in this pattern to know that this is a clue to take it. I hesitated. So once I saw that this candle was formed here and it made me like, and it left, it did my, it did my methodology, right? It met my criteria. So if it meets my criteria, I'm gonna take it. I just have to know how to get out if it's going against me for whatever reason, if I'm wrong that day. So anyway, left kids. So I believe left kids in the fair value gap, I believe it's gonna come up. When I came down to the 30-minute, I saw the same thing again. And so it made me believe that Adobe may want to continue to come up. It also didn't close below the last little chair like step that it made. So again, it made me believe that it wanted to come up. This particular pattern is a 5-minute pattern, so it gave me a little bit of concern when I saw it close like this, because I was like, depending on how you look at it, this could be like a bullish pattern, but that doesn't mean that it won't just still get stopped out and come up. These candles are pretty long and deep, but this is how it looks on the 15-minute. which follows, you know, came closer up here, and we have more momentum candles. So I'll see how it plays out. Again, I know how to get out of things, but all of this wick action makes you feel like it wants to continue and close out the fair value gap with a real body and not a wick, right? Because that's always my other theory, that these fair value gaps prefer to be closed with real bodies versus wick. Even if it may take a little bit of time, that's what they do. So I'm bullish on Adobe. All right. So I'm bullish on Adobe. Probably a call to about 490, 492. So I'll be looking in that area for calls. Strike prices to ride up. So just putting that on your brain so you can write Adobe on the list. For bullish, if you want $4 or so out of Adobe, it may be there. Then when you come out on Adobe to the 1 hour, to the daily, you know, if tech really does want to come up, this is a hell of a candle it made, but I would love to just see what Adobe wants to do with it. And, you know, just continue to snake back up here. So we'll see how Adobe wants to move this week in the week of tech. I'm gonna continue down my summer option list because these are my larger tickers. So far, I do still have my other list. Where's my list of tickers? I'm still working on that document, guys, for that top 20 list, because it does take me some research to get through all that. So still working on that list of other tickers so we get through the summer, but we'll get there. So Lily, this is the move I actually wanted to take on Lily, but a lot of these small candles, I'm still learning exactly how I want to play them and hold on to them. So Lily is doing a nice move. It's now continuing to make all-time highs. So I thought to buy calls, as some of these companies are making all-time highs. I thought to buy calls and just watch candlestick patterns, because they're just going to keep, you know, climbing. And then when I see a stall, kind of get out. But when it does like short little like this, it kind of makes it hard, and it makes it, well, I wouldn't say hard. I don't want to use that word a lot. It just makes you hesitate a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, where are you really going? How far down do you want to retrace? And I really wasn't sure about this gap. So it came about 50% into this daily fair value gap, and then it continued back up, and then finally came for this wick. And it was this wick move that I wanted, but you see how choppy it was right here? It was killing me to trade. So like I really would have had to hold Lily for a few days as a call, because I kept wanting to get in here at the 444 and ride it up to the 456. But I would have really, that would have took some trust. And I did have an underlying conviction that it wanted to retrace back up this way. The timing on it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 if you really want to say like close it. So 10 days. Yeah, now y'all know I don't have the patience for that. So I missed that move, and that's totally fine. So I don't have to rethink that strategy. But when I see that, no big deal. But it's running up. So just, you're gonna have to, you know, trade with caution as it's running up there and how you want to hold positions, but I would just buy a lot of time. Netflix has a daily fair value gap right here, and I don't know if it's going to fill it, because the dailies, you always have to remember, a daily could take a few days to want to decide to truly do it. So I wear my glasses so much, I actually almost felt they were on my face, and they're not. So so we'll see here, because I see the fair value gap at the bottom as well, which is also an actual physical gap. So we can mark that with some solid purple lines. If I were to take from the true gap, which is here, and I'm gonna do small because it's a daily physical gap, thin purple lines, and I will label them as such, because getting in the habit of labeling some of these will help you as you're scaling from time zone to time zone, and you won't be like, what did I do? What was that? So this was the gap. So, and I even go, you know, if depending on how you're trading it is where you guys see the open and close. So if I'm expecting price to come down through the gap, you know, then this will be the close, right? And that top line, this will be the open of the gap. So the fact that it does have a wick bounce through here, it could want to come through and take this gap out. So it's a physical gap on with the fair value in there. And if you come down to the 2 hour, you know, these wicks are going to be something interesting here. Potentially, it just depends on how Netflix wants to move. So I'm going to do a dotted line dashed 2 point. This is the bottom. So you can label this as like a 2 hour wick, or you can label it as like the 2 hour fair value gap. However because I know there's a daily one in here too. So it's up to you how you want to label in here to acknowledge the wick bounce. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. You want to acknowledge the wick bounce in some way. So how you want to label that line? I've been doing 2 hour fair value gap type thing. And I'll do like, this is the open, so I know that it'll get a bounce, right? And then the close lines up with this line, so I probably won't label it. I could do here right under it to get this larger one. This is a close of a 2 hour fair value gap there, because I don't want to have too many lines overlapping lines. So you don't want to confuse yourself and go cross-eyed, right? So, you know, fair value gap close. All right. So this is Netflix. Again, this is one I see a bottom move, but because it's tech, I'm not quite sure. There's a fair value up right here. So let's actually come back down to 2 hour, look at the top side. So that's interesting because it's on the daily, but it's not on the 2 hour. All right, so that's good to note. So we would have to then mark this as such. You want to mark this as the daily fair value. And, you know, I changed my lines up and everything from like dotted to whatever, but you don't have to do that. The labels are enough for you, it's fine. So this will be a daily fair value gap. I usually like to make my daily stuff like big and thick, right? Because it's the daily and that's the daily. And then I know what I'm looking at. Oops. Label it. This should be the close actually. All right. So you got to fall in love with charting, I would say. Just a little bit. All right, so now when we come to our 2 hours, see how that looks? That speaks a lot on the 2 hours. So it's like, okay, well, even though it has this daily gap on this daily fair value gap at the top, when I look at the 2 hour, I see that it's been rejected twice against this block. So it did leave kids in the block, so it could come up for it. This does look kind of wonky W-ish, but again, it's something to note. So which way does it want to go? And it would really need to be turning. So I would want it to come down to the 30-minute, a smaller time frame, and see if this is really holding up. It's bouncing against, as you can see on the 30-minute now. It's really been bouncing up against this daily fair value gap open. It is not trying to come down there. So it tells a story, right? So from when you're too far out, you're like, okay, I can see what it could possibly do. But then when you look here, you're like, wait a minute, this line is really holding up. Like it really may not want to come down. It really looks like it's trying to do something of a potential cradle or something like that. Or it could be, because you would really have to watch the tops of the peaks here and the pattern that's forming within here to get on another order block that's going to break one way or the other. So, and this one's pretty tight. It's just a lot of consolidation. Look at it, just bouncing between these two lines. And that's crazy because these lines were just marked off the daily and you still end up with some support and resistance lines right in front of your face based off of price action alone on the smaller time frames. You don't even have to chart anything else. You can see it. It's just like a ping pong. Off of these $4 and just like, what in the world? So again, I'll probably look at this more of a block situation that's figuring out where it wants to break to. That's what I see the more that I analyze Netflix. Don't really see a good move that I would love to take. I do think the gap is more profitable than the top. So yes, your risk to reward is down here. For sure, that's $10. So you may want to bet on Netflix coming down. But if it doesn't and it goes up, then you're not looking for, is it all-time high? Where is Netflix at? Oh my God. Hold up. This is Netflix. Okay. So where's the top side? The Netflix follows the NASDAQ and it goes up. Then we have, this looks crazy. Y'all see this gap that Netflix is trying to get back into? Oh, shit. Okay. So, wow, this is a discovery. I didn't realize Netflix had this much chart at the top. I really didn't. I just showed you it's been a little bit since I've done a proper top-down analysis, so forgive me on Netflix. But here we go, because this is juicy. Y'all see this gap? How many days is it gonna take us to get up this gap? Like weeks. All right, so let's get some proper gap lines in here. So let me come all the way back and get the very top at the very bottom, which is going to be kind of interesting because this is why I have the solids and the thing. But fortunately, there's a daily gap to this side that's smaller, and it's running into this older one back here. This is the real start. So that's what shows you that it's in it. So I guess for this case, so we have so many lines down here. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. We know that we really need price to come back and clear this top in order for anything to go anywhere. So we're going to acknowledge the gap that way. So we're going to come here into this candle that was created on Thursday, January 20th of 2022. Woo! This is an old gap. This is a wow. All right, let's do it. So we're gonna make it chunky. We're gonna make it purple. And we're gonna make it chunkier because this is that big gap. So we're gonna label it. Right. Daily gap close. Same label. Then you can like, so one thing I've done is like daily gap close like 2, because I have that other one at the bottom. So that's gap 1. That's daily gap 1. That's daily gap 2. So whatever floats your boat. You don't even have to do all that. Like, long as you can understand your chart. You know, I'm teaching, so I'm just trying to give y'all somewhat of a like, keep it clean. But by all means, don't make it too crazy though. I would advise that. Daily gap open. Daily gap 2 open. Okay, number 1, number 2. Number 1s don't really get called number 1s. You just will see on my chart number 2s and number 3s and number 4s. And the number 1 is just going to be the gap. All right. So we have this gap up here. I even want, since I know current prices down here, I'm even going to acknowledge, because data is so far back and I don't want to have to keep coming all the way back here to see this. So this is the gap. This is insane. I should probably, maybe I should do the wick of this gap, so I don't have to mark anything else. Maybe I should do the wicks, because then I know that's like the upmost parts as I analyze, and as things get bouncy, right? Because as it comes up in this area, I'm expecting exhaustion, because it already is doing it. And so then I'm going to acknowledge, so we have 2 candles here. All right, we have February 1st and February 2nd. And I'm going to mark the top of the body of February 2nd as a high, not the wick, because I have to dissect that wick. This is the daily. So I'm not going to, I just want the bodies, because the bodies are enough to where price will close. Like, price will close on a body. So you don't need more than that at first. When it comes to the top wicks, acknowledge the body when it comes to charting resistance. Mark the top of the body and then dissect the wick and put in these smaller lines, like I'm saying, these dash, like 2 hour fair value. Do that. If you see something or 2 hour tweezer top is what you're gonna probably end up labeling it. We'll see when we get into it, because it's a wick and it probably has something in it. So we're just gonna see how it all looks. But for now, when you're on the daily, start here. And then I took the upmost part of this wick because I know this is a candle, here. So you can put 2 lines, you can figure out how you want to label this top part. It gets kind of crowded, I would say, especially if you go ahead and mark this wick too. So I would just be cognizant of that. But I'm gonna label this line as like candle, like daily candle body top. Like literally, don't complicate. It's the top of a body of candle on daily. That's all I need to know that price is not me out there, or price may not want to come up too much further, right, with that line. So now I want to come back to current price. I got these fair value gaps. I got all this in here. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, so here's current. Wait, here we got this level. The price needs to come up through here and then above for Netflix. This is a hell of an analysis. All right, so we got the daily fair value gap. That's one. And then you have to acknowledge these wicks on a smaller time frame for it to come up, and then we're in the gap. So once we break the top of this daily high, we have another, how much money is that? Another $9. Wow, just to get to the gap. Netflix is, let's not sleep on Netflix, y'all. Please. That's like let's just ride Netflix to the gap. Like just get to the, like there's a lot of money just to get to the gap. Are you kidding? All right. So we're gonna put so we got Adobe, we got Netflix. Who's taking notes? Everybody's I'm taking notes too, but just in case I missed something. Just in case. Adobe, Netflix. Netflix got a huge gap. And we want to ride to the gap. Ride to gap. Netflix move. And Adobe was the bullish, short-term bullish move. It was a short-term scalp for no more than about roughly $4, right? And then Netflix, we want to ride the gap. We want to ride it to the gap, which has a profit potential move of, we went up. Damn, that's, wait, all the way to the gap is $33. Just taking it back up to the high is $22. So we just have to see though, because it could be, you have to have the conviction. We have to really look for this one. I would say let's make sure the NASDAQ is continuing to go up. If we really want to play bullish, because I feel like if it's going to be bullish, I feel like we should scalp it bearish. Okay, scalp the gap bearish, but you may want to think more, a little bit more time going bullish so it can like break the high, because it's a nasty little thing, or you can just wait on it, because I know these wicks are, and then we know Netflix can just move if it wants to move. So there's a little bit of we just got to keep your eyes on it for sure to figure out how we want to do. It's going to be a bullish move, and then a bearish short-term scalp to the bottom on Netflix. So I got 2 moves, potentials. All right, let's look. Lulu is killing me. So I don't even know if I want, like, oh my God, Lulu. What is this? Looks like a crazy retracement to continue up. Is what it looks like. I wonder if it wants to come back down for this gap though. This is a hard read for me with Lulu. It's struggling to break past this shoulder Because it came up and it came back down. I think we should leave Lulu alone until I put an alert here on it, kind of look at it, figure out if it wants to kind of bounce off of this area or not. And then an alert at the top if it's going to come back up, and then we can kind of assess based on the candles and see which way it wants to go. But we're going to hold on Lulu. Chipotle, please. I can't. Hold on Chipotle. NVDA. Hold on NVDA for scalp for and give me a second. I have a little greed bias on NVIDIA, so bear with me while I work through my emotions on trying to see stuff that may not be there, because it happens. Because I want to say we may have a move to the to at least here, but I don't like this. Don't like this. How much money is it? $8. Oh, it's gonna be quick. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. That's just gonna be a quick candlestick. Okay. Well, who would have known that nursery rhyme would come into play trading? That was like spot on. So I can see that little retracement scalp. There's, like I said, a bias greed. I like playing with NVIDIA because I'm also holding it. So I may want to have fun with this and do that move. If it comes down and does a quick whoop, whoop, and come back up to the upside, it's at all-time highs. So sorry, I'm like about to scroll back. Like, Randy, there's nothing to scroll back to. It's in space in the universe. Blasting off. And I think it's ready to cock back again and continue to climb up. I think it's doing a stair ladder thing. So I may, like, as some of these stocks are doing all-time highs, I may become like just a quick retracement scalper, because I just don't trust the top. Like, and I've had this problem since the beginning of my trading. So it's going to take probably the longest to curve it. I just don't trust the top. Like, I'm such a bearish person. I can always see the bottom. It's like, oh, well, it's gonna at least hit here and turn back around. It's gonna at least hit here, turn around, because the market doesn't like to be down. So it's only gonna go right here. And it's gonna come back up. It's right here. I just may be, mama bear retracement on these all-time highs. So I'm figuring that out as I'm watching these. Again, NVIDIA, Adobe, Apple, these are all three that I am actively playing to get the finesse on the all-time high. I'm mad I dropped my call on Apple. We'll look at Apple towards the end. It's a slower mover, but I should have held long. I bought time to hold it, and I'm just still working through my little emotions there, y'all, on my long-term holds. I can scalp all day, but holding anything, just these retracement moves, it just give me jittery a little bit. So it's cool. It happens, but yeah, I'm gonna jump back in Apple. This is pretty much the verdict. I'm just gonna jump back in, because that's what I told myself when I jumped out. So I was like, just in case I'm gonna jump out, and then I'll just jump back in if I was right. And then everyone, I know you take little losses there, you got the fees and stuff like that, but this is me working through my emotions. I went out of the money. I bought a lot of time. I didn't spend a lot on the contract. I am in the direction of where price is going. It's just as it's doing its ebbs and flows, and I'm trying to work through it. I'd rather be at that position, because if I feel like I have to get out, I can get out. I don't feel like I lost too much anything, and I just get back in. I'll probably make it all back up. So you got to do certain things in this market as well to get you over your fears. You got to just ease your way into it. So this is me easing my way into my fears of trading all-time highs. And this is how I'm doing it. So, do I risk $200? Was the cost of the contract? Or so, yeah, keep it small. All right, the dollars. Here's an overall look at what the dollar did left us last week with a W. With a W that has not yet to fail, though, so we don't know. It looks like a W until it doesn't. So what this W is missing is the next candle here to let us know if it's going to continue up. Or for one, we need a decision, and then we need a confirmation. We need a decision and a confirmation. And we don't have that. And if I come to the 2 hour, we have a little bit of a turnaround here, which will be the start of that. This W doesn't look so hot anymore. But I can see it, and it's doing the little, like, so from this perspective, if the W was to hold, then it should not break past this particular fair value gap. It will stay within, I would say, because sometimes it wicks on you just to clear out liquidity down here, and there is liquidity down here, and that's the reason I'm saying it. But it should hold within 102.7 and 102.55. If it does not hold here, it is a fail and it's going to come down. So that's the rules of a W. It's everything right now is on par to stay a bullish W until this breaks. So I can put an alert here, and we can pay attention to that move on DXY. Okay, 102.7 to see what it does. Right, and look, if we look at our from the daily, that line comes right where the middle part of the W comes up. That's right where it's supposed to be retesting. And if it fails that, then it's going to be a failed W. All right, and it's just going to drop back down here into this level. Okay, and then I don't know where it wants to go after that. I mean, it has all this. We'll see just what the market wants to do. All right. And as we continue down, we'll give a review. Well, this is the futures. Let me go over to the other watch list. So just look at the overall Dow and the NASDAQ from last week. I don't have many lines on my chart for that. I just kind of mark some key little gaps and look at what they're doing. So I don't do as involved as the fair value gaps, the daily, because I'm not actively trading it. So I'm just really, I don't label any of these lines. I just, in the line colors don't mean anything when y'all looking at the Dow or the NASDAQ on my chart. The colors mean nothing. It's just whatever color it was left on. And I'm with the go mark lines is where it is. So I'll move these 4 lines, but I really keep it real clean because I'm just looking to ensure that I'm always in line with the market trend. I'm just looking at the overall trend of the Dow and the NASDAQ. And so right now we can do a top-down analysis. Let's come out to the weekly. Ew, very ugly charts. Ew. So drop, coming back up, stalling bad because this is the very top of the peak up here. I totally understand it. This line is holding strong here. I wonder if with a 1, 2, 3, I mean, that's a triple top-ish and quadruple top-ish, or maybe this doesn't apply right now. Because if it is any of those, price should be coming down if this holds another top. But my highs got high, my lows got higher between here and here. So I'm not really sure. So we are going to wait and see the verdict. It looks like it's, chopping up and preparing to give us something. And that's something I am eager to see. So this particular block, I'm not sure if it really wants to come down. I would love for it to hold it. Ideally, if we want to stay bullish, this block should hold with price coming no further than this pin wick and continuing up. All right, so we can mark an alert on 33,401.19 on the Dow to see if price holds at this level or breaks. All right, y'all see that? And this is the daily. I don't really chart 2 hour or anything like that. I'll look at it during the live market, but right now we can just stick to the daily. And the NASDAQ, similar things. Now these lines, I have some thick ones on here. Why? I don't know. It just are. So the NASDAQ, let's go. Okay, so the thing I love about the NASDAQ and the reason why I believe the NASDAQ wants to come up and the reason why I did buy that call on Apple, my little scaredy cat, but jumped out too early, but that's cool. is because of what the NASDAQ has, which is this gap action over here. So this gap action is making me feel like price wants to come and deal with this, which will be right in line with this peak. And then we can get a better turnaround. We're chopping up because this is an order block of data, which also has a gap added. So the beginning of the gap is here, but since it's pretty much filled the gap, what I'll do to try to get an idea, we're gonna mark the top of this gap, the gap close, more on it, because I want to know, just where the wicks look on that gap close and into this interesting looking, I don't even know what to call this little sandwich pattern over here. It's red, green, red. I don't know what you want to call it. But this is going to be an interesting pattern to break through as well. But I think it may do it with like some vengeance too. It just depends on, volume and momentum and what the players are playing, how the players want to play. So that's what's making me overall feel like the NASDAQ wants to come up. And as we come back here, so yeah, I thought it closed the gap, and that's why I marked it like that. Wait, this would have been at top. Yes, so this was that first gap. So now it's up into this. So this is the next gap. This is why I'm seeing, this is why you hit the lines, Randy. Hit the lines. It's like, is the gap open or is the gap closed? Which one is it? All right. So that's what we got for the Dow. I mean, the NASDAQ coming back up to its gap as well. Like NASDAQ, like all these other ones, if this is the bottom of the retracement, because it's been doing that continual, bounce up, and that stays true, then it's gonna come right up here, and then we'll see a harder turnaround. Is what I'm thinking. All right, that's what I'm thinking. Because we just bounced off the first gap and we closed it. And so we came down, and now we're going to come up to this one. I just don't know if we want to potentially retrace deeper and feel the bottom of here. Like, because this is and the reason why I'm acknowledging that is because you guys see this cluster of candles right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, starting from Friday, June 2nd, that little gap, this order block. So if it wants to really, really come for us, it'll come take out this order block at the bottom, actually. So ideally, if we want to stay bullish and we don't want, well, ideally, I'm saying ideally because, a lot of us just, when we're in calls, we just don't like it to bleed deeper into this area, even though it could still be a bounce. But my point is, this will be the first, it will actually happen here. It will be a first bounce to see if this order block will hold price up, and that will be it. That's what I'm saying. An ideal position is this is it, and then it comes back around to stay bullish. If not, then it's gonna come clear the order block out, and you're just gonna have to sit and wait through that disastrous consolidation period that it takes every time it comes and clears an order block. It just consolidates for a while. All right, so we'll be looking to see exactly what the NASDAQ is gonna do in the Dow, along with the SPY and the futures. Excuse me, you guys. And we'll go from there. So that's like our overall main key players, right? Adobe, Netflix. We went through. Oh, we have a few more. Hold on. NVDA and stuff like that. Lulu. PANW is another fast mover. Let me finish this list out. So I got 2 more PANW HD and well, 2 more PANW HD and CAT, 3 more. Sorry, I don't want to worry about the SPX as well. I was looking at. All right. So PANW is on a bull run. Is it all-time highs? It is. We did a little gap fill action when it made the gap, and that was nice. And we haven't been running it up since. Maybe some of you have, so congratulations if you have. I know I haven't. So it looks like we have almost a failed W situation that's going to come bounce and come back up. Maybe not completely failed. It may, it can still come. See where these wicks of the W come up? It can come right to there. And then the W will be considered held and will come up. If it comes down to the leg in, leg out situation, then it's a fail. All right, and that's a 2 hour on PANW. So if, again, this may be another one I can practice going up with Netflix and it was on the NASDAQ, NVDA, all of them, buy a call. Maybe you want quick retracements, you can do that. Or you can just buy a call with probably 2 months of time and just hold it until you see turnaround candles and get out. There's a strategy. It is what it is. I don't see, this could do an M situation. I can kind of see it, but based on the way the NASDAQ's been moving, I'm not too convinced or worried about it bottoming too much, but we'll see. We'll still want to market. So if I were to market, I will be looking at, so we have this gap here. So I'll actually mark the bottom of this gap. Not ignoring the fair value gap, the physical gap that's right here, right? This physical gap will probably hold up price and make it big purple for you guys. Right here, right? This physical gap on the daily is probably the lowest I'll first think it could get to. Ideally, you want this fair value gap to hold it, but with these 3 candles running up, it may not. Just saying, it may not. So, and ideally, you want the line at the 242 to hold it. So that's ideal if you're bullish, but I can definitely see a retracement as far down to the gap, of course. All right, but this one to me, saying that we'll have to break this tweezer bottom in order to get down here, I'm not like too quick to move on it, if that makes sense. So I don't see a good risk to reward profitable move. All right, Home Depot. I'm a Home Depot fans. I ain't clear off none of this crap from last week. All right, what are we doing? What are we doing? Let's see if we can still use some of it though, because sometimes you don't have to rechart if the price didn't move too much anywhere. So I have this wick acknowledged going up into the gap. I kind of set some trend lines trying to figure out what type of potential break block pattern it was forming, but I ain't gonna lie, it looks awful. And I don't really love what was left there. So we're just gonna sit and wait and see how HD wants to figure itself out in this gap, because that's basically what it's doing. It's figuring out how it wants to take out this gap. And I think we're all waiting for that. I'm waiting for this 304 line. Again, we can ride it up to 304 if $4 is all you need. And you can scale your position with Home Depot and do that. And but if you want a little bit more than that, then I would wait for the 304 break, then get into Home Depot, maybe even wait for the 307 break and then ride it up. We'll see how the market is moving and keep an eye on the Dow for HD to see if HD isn't a good time to move. Based on what we just did in the Dow is like 2-2 move worthy. Unlike the NASDAQ looks like it's kind of still preparing moves upward. I wouldn't be so quick to jump into Home Depot, but because I still don't even have a good, I mean, all of this, the 15 minute, 30 minute, it's just really consolidating. So we'll wait. And then the cat fans out there. All right, so this is the daily. Don't love the way cat looks, by the way. It left this pin and that's not helping. It's just not helping. You got to be kidding me. So there's a physical gap here. And like, yeah, you can acknowledge it, but it's so small that it's just like, okay, it's just really showing you that this is a level of resistance and it's trapped between support and resistance right now. And I'm gonna leave cattle low until it breaks to either side. All right. And we can now come over to my other watch list and take a look at Apple and a few others. But at this point, after looking at Apple, if there's any other tickers you guys want to really assess and look at, I will let you all let me know what you want to look at. I wasn't even paying attention to chat. Sorry, Esther. It was all the way over to the side corner of my eye. Usually I have it closer and pull it over here. Okay. And I can go back over those too. But anything you guys have burning desire, let me know and we can talk about it. Go back over any of the tickers that we went over if you feel like you missed something. Any of the tickers in this list that you want to go over, any other tickers that are not in my list, I will let you guys decide, but you can go ahead and start dropping them in the chat if there's anything else you want to look at as a group. So Apple. That's right, Randy. You know Apple's not all-time high. Well, it's such a habit to just be like, look at past data. It's like there's nothing back there. I guess I'm doing that. So yeah, I had got an Apple like right here. Where was I? An Apple somewhere. And I got out with this doodad here. So I'm gonna jump back in. It looks like it's gonna keep climbing up. I think first thing tomorrow morning, I'm gonna jump into Apple and reposition myself because I didn't do it Friday, which is when I should have did it, but I didn't. I was focused on Adobe on Friday. Long bull position. Apple to infinity and beyond. I was at like the 190 strike or 195 strike. I was somewhere in there with Apple when I took this. Okay. Because I was like, if it just keeps creeping up there eventually, then, you know, sure. Like, why not? I don't know what's going to do.
Esther asked to look at UNH.
UNH. Thank you, Natalie. All right, Esther, what you got in UNH? What you like about it?
Well, it looks like it's trying to fill that enormous daily gap. So that gap was created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days ago when UNH warned that since COVID is now long over, everybody that delayed all their medical procedures and not primary care, really important, I'm going to die kind of just procedures during COVID are now getting them. So insurance companies actually have to pay. That was very bad news for the market. So all of the insurers dumped on that particular day, and UNH is making short work at it, coming right back up, and that was an enormous drop. So literally almost $30. So I'm wondering where it's because it's stalling now, right? So I'm wondering if this might be something worth watching to ride it back up the rest of the way to the gap, or if it's going to reject from here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Okay. It's cool, right?
It's cool, but you know, I hate these big gaps. There's always something in the middle every time.
Oh, they're terrifying. Yeah, they're terrifying.
They are. As much as
and I suck at them. So
and I feel like in so many cases, IWT got us so excited for these gaps without.
Oh yeah, but
there's a roadblock right in the middle of every single one.
Mm-hmm. I agree. My preference when I trade gaps is to use them with how to hedge and how to like using the gap as an indicator of where to actually short, because the gap's going to reject you. That's like trying to go out with a 10 when you're a 2. You know, that's just not going to happen. So that's why you get married, because you don't have to date anymore and specialize in rejection. So it's very entertaining though to me that this has gotten as far as it did, as fast as it did. So that was the only reason I wanted to bring it up, because this is a huge mover. UNH moves over $12 a day. So for those of us that are looking for a short move, this is a really cool stock to think about.
In the list and add it to
Yeah,
the
that's what
list.
I wanted to do, is
Thank
add to the
you,
list. You're
ladies,
welcome.
for
My
adding
pleasure.
to the list. I'm
Girl,
gonna
it's my
put that
pleasure.
one on the list right now to add it as a top 20. Thank you.
Awesome. Yay. Well, and to add to our entertainment, if we're looking at a week out, let's say we wanted to go to the 490, just for humor's sake, for the 490 strike, which is far. 490 strike, July 7th expiration is $1.87 for almost $500 stock. So yeah, so the options are inexpensive right now, and that's with a week's worth of time. As you can tell, I don't know, UNH needs a week, but you know, better safe than sorry. UNH has a pretty decent, has a decent spread. You're right. Let's see. The volume though is pretty high. It trades almost 5 million shares a day, so that shouldn't be the total reason why the spread is high. I mean, it's an insurance company. That shit's gonna be expensive. So so something to think
In some
about.
cases, if we were day trading, right, we wouldn't mind the larger bid-ask spread, right? Because it'd be more volatile. So maybe if you are holding it long term, maybe not so much.
Well, or if you're holding a lot of contracts, right? I mean, I don't mean like 3 or 4. I mean like 15 or 20, and you're trying to close a trade, then
100,
you might get partially filled, right? So there's a little entertainment there, but it's not a problem I have to worry about. So with my
there's
couple of contracts, right?
$13 left in the gap. So
Right.
that just left in the gap. So all we need now is confirmation that it wants to actually finish the gap.
Right.
And then I hear
why I bring it up. That's why I brought it up. And
Because
because it's far away. And what's really, to me, what's really interesting is that the 490 strike, I mean, it's really cheap, but the delta's not awesome, but it's 0.23. I mean, we could go closer, 487.50, and then end up in the money. Because this could fill that gap in a day. It could.
Right.
I mean, if the
it
APPL
has
is $12, right? It could do it.
Averaging $12 across the beans.
And here's the other thing that's affecting my thought process. Y'all heard about the failed Russian coup over this weekend, right? So there's some massive drama that's going to hit the stock market at 6:00 tonight when the futures start trading. I really am very curious to see what happens. I feel like the healthcare industry might be a safe haven for investors and smart money, right? And we should ride that coattail too. So
it may not be a bad move because Jacinio kind of led the way with that, with her Abramal and her Boston Law, how profitable she's been on that, even going long, but still showing that the healthcare sector is something we need to pull over. She's been dropping that gem in here for a while. So for you to come with additional confluence, Esther,
happy to help.
Yeah, because that's one industry that we just weren't taught to look at as much, but I'm all for it. Look, I'm all for it, but my goal is to expand this place.
So for those of you in the chat who are saying you haven't heard about what happened in Russia, so Friday night, Trent made the great mistake of turning on the news. Friday night, there was an announcement that the head of the Wagner Group, which was basically the mercenary thugs that Putin hired to run the invasion of Ukraine because they don't have enough military, and nobody really wants to die for this insanity that's happening. So they hire these mercenaries to do it. Well, the head of the mercenaries decided that he had enough with Putin and ordered his troops to march on Moscow. Yesterday afternoon, he changed his mind. Needless to say, that guy is probably headed to Belarus so he could avoid being poisoned by Putin, because that's probably the next thing that'll happen. So that level of drama has caused all kinds of hysteria about people talking about the markets and what's going to happen when we start trading tomorrow or overnight tonight. So yeah, exactly. Wow. Seriously, it's like you're watching TV going, they're marching where now? What now? Are we really seriously having this conversation? It was like something out of a bad movie. So it was fast and ended quickly, thank goodness, and no bloodshed, but it's going to rattle. I think it's going to rattle the markets a little bit. And those moves you were talking about, Randy, about sweeping down the downward liquidity on the futures, that may happen literally in the next 2 hours. And then boom, it'll go back up because it was a failed coup, right? But everybody was using words like military tribunals and coup, and it's very, very scary. So markets don't like that shit. So global geopolitical fear is definitely a driver in the markets.
So this is a prime example of how I'm telling you guys, the charts like align with the news. Like this stuff is all kind of planned and very predictable. So it's like the charts are making the moves, and that the moves that line up to the news. It's just so weird. It's almost like how did you know on Friday that this was gonna come out over the weekend and we would sweep that liquidity at the bottom? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's magic, y'all. This is why I love trading though, because that's the part that gets me all excited. So here is from Benzinga, part of the article about it. Let me drop it in the chat for you guys who want to start looking a little closer at this. Thank you, Esther, for staying on top of the news for us. Yeah, these little boys, because Trinica, the way you said it, Putin don't like losing. And when you say it like that, they no longer become minimized. They become little boys that are just like, I don't like to lose. I'm a sore loser. Because I grew up with a sore loser. My little brother is one of them, actually. When you should, and it's interesting to see how he puts on the same type of pout now that he's an adult and a man. And I'm like, that's the same shit you used to do as a kid. I see it. You just mad you lost. So it is. And you just need to get over it. And just pick up the pants, just keep walking. Don't even worry about it. You lost. You got caught with your pants down. It's okay. It's okay. Yes, emasculated. That's what it is. Oh my God, let me tell you, my brother would cheat at games. Cheat. That boy don't like losing. I'm telling you, he don't like losing. I'm telling you. It's not his fault. If you're on a team with him and y'all lose, it's not on him, it's on you. That's how bad it is. All right, y'all. Any other tickers y'all got? Thank you. Esther, for this one. This is a good one. I'm gonna keep our eyes on it. So I'm trying to, let's figure out what we need to put an alert, because we need to see where it's gonna break, because this is one of those consolidation patterns. So it's either gonna break down or break up. And then that's the thing, if it breaks down, or we shouldn't consider that profit. That's too small. It's like $7 on the way down. And this is the first fair value gap that should catch it. So let's bet on up. If it doesn't give it to us, then we don't worry about it. We only want the juicy stuff anyway. So this is better to just focus on stuff that's gonna really give us a profit. So this what this should hopefully be is a pennant or a flag, a continuation flag. So we will want to look for, this is a bull pattern forming. If this is a bull pattern forming, there should be a flag and we should get a breakout. How do I want to chart that breakout with trend lines? That's the question. Where my cards at? I need help. Help. Need help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. Help. Okay, which one of these patterns do you look like right now?
Randy, do we think that the price is going to sweep down and try to hit that fair value gap at like
I don't know, 'cause you gotta-
476-ish?
I don't know, because you got to remember, like, the ES may do that, but then like these individual stocks may not give a shit because it may be like over and done with. You know what I'm saying? Like the time may have lapsed, is over and done with. Because the way, and the reason why I say that is because this one really came into its bottom into here. And I'm not convinced that, I've seen this pattern before, I'm not convinced that it may want to actually kiss off the top of this fair value gap. I actually am
Okay.
not. I think these wicks may be enough to hold it up. So I don't want to call that on this one. That's why I'm like, help. I'm trying to figure out what card I can get to give us a little bit more, just a little bit more, which way this may go for us. It should go bullish. It looks very bullish. Anybody else who has their deck of cards, y'all can help me out. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. If you're not there yet on chart patterns, I understand. I'm gonna say it to be like this one. How many tops we got? This one's a wonky, it's ugly. So let me see. If I just focus on trend lines, let's see. I'm using the 15-minute. If I will notice these wicks, I'm tracing the wicks down this way. And then I'm tracing these wicks, which way we going? Like this. So just a box. Can y'all see me draw that any other way? As far as like aligning the tops. Some people do wicks, some people do bodies, but if I did the body, then so if we do bodies, then we get this. I don't know if we get one of those diamond things. I don't think so. No, because see, it pops there. And then we have here, here. That's why I'm looking like it's making one of those combination patterns. Whereas like I don't think I could draw it. I don't think I should draw it that way. Because in that, no. I think I usually like taking it from the wicks because it kind of keeps everything within reason. Because when you start doing the bodies, it just becomes, you don't know what you're looking at anymore. And I could take it all the way down here because make it straight lines. So then I'll come out the 2 hour. How does that look? Yeah, I guess that would just be like a standard flag, I think. Pretty much. What is he calling this one? Rectangle top? A rectangle top. Okay, I guess. It is kind of rectangle-ish, I ain't gonna lie. And that's how I see it. Kind of pennant, not really a triangle. Pennant-ish / rectangle-ish. I need a nickname for it. Broadening wedge. No, it's not really broadening. Broadening wedge. No. I would say pennant. Yeah, pennant to rectangle. That's what we got. So with that, they would be. Why didn't I take them out the first time, Randy? Wow. Okay, there's rectangles, pennants. And all right, let's see what the percentages look like. Because I would love $13 on United Healthcare, United Health Group, whatever. See who has a higher 7% bullish, bearish. Let's compare overall the higher percentage. So it looks like bear with me, guys. It's a lot of cards. I got 5 cards. I'm trying to look across the different percentage to get an average and do quick math in my head and figure out which one's averaging out to have the higher breakout probability. Okay, so it has a very stronger probability of going up than down. It's likely for it to be a pullback, of course, but it's for it to continue up after this, it's very high, very likely. Very likely. So I'm looking at like 51% rise on the rectangle top in comparison to a 16% drop on the same pattern. So yeah, bullish for sure. So now for that consensus, we will be looking for the actual breakaway candle. And y'all, you just pray to God that you see the pin before it happens. That's the only way to aggressively take this move. Now that you have a bunch of bullish confluences that probably will take it. You got healthcare, you got all this stuff, Putin's threatening things. I don't know, that may make healthcare go. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But if it pops, it's hard to see that pen that's gonna pop it right when it does it. So I will just keep Esther. I guess you're assigned to United Health Group for the pop, and when we should all take
it. Oh God, I'll try.
I know, right? No pressure. But yeah. I can extend this down a bit more. Like you can make these trend lines elongated and then put alerts on the trend line. So that can kind of help me know when to look back at it as well. But you know, sometimes by the time I look back at it, maybe gone or maybe arguing.
So yeah, so that's my question. So would you wait until it crosses that 480 to get in, or would you get in if it's just shows that it's bullish in the morning? Would you wait for it to hit this trend line? That's my question.
I prefer to wait to hit it. So that's subjective to what happens in here when it hits the
Right.
trend line.
Right.
So like I'm on the 15-minute. So if I get a W before the trend line, then I could take it before the trend line. Like this is where your knowledge of the other things got to play, because the default answer is yes, you should wait for the trend line. But if you're looking for a signal to how I can get in before the trend line alert goes off, because the trend line may be too late, this is where you're looking for a double bottom, all these other patterns forming itself before like creating its way to take off. Does that make sense?
Right.
You're looking for the cradle, you're looking for the W, you're looking for all those things we talk about.
Right. Really? Awesome.
That's all I can say. That's it. That's what I say. You just eyeball it and you're like, look at it, it's going, it's popping, it's teasing, it's starting to bounce maybe off of the line, you know, do something like it'll do a bunch of warning signs. If it's
Well, we have those little fair value gaps up there. So if it clears at least the first one of those, yeah.
there, that too. So come down in a
we
5
have that
minute.
too.
Yeah. So that's we can put an alert on like the
480.
bottom
It
of
still
it.
looks like 480. Yeah,
It is
there you
still
go.
480. So
Okay.
I mean, no matter what, and then that's looking at the pattern. So again, even unless you get a W down here way before 480,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be hard to tell. You're probably really gonna just have to wait for the 480.
How much time would you buy? Because I know it depends on what your goals are, right? Like, I mean, I would literally look at July 7th.
The contract you quoted that was at $1 something. What expiration date was that?
July 7th. July 7th. So not this coming Friday, next Friday. So it gives us 2 weeks.
That's more than enough time. How would I mean?
Think so? I think so.
I mean, to say that you can get that much time for that price, I would always go for that.
Yeah.
If you're expecting the move to happen within the week, because say, what if it chops all this week and then it bounces next week? Then you have that additional week to do that. If you are now, if your move doesn't happen in the time frame that you're expecting, then I would get out no later than like next Monday or Tuesday, right? Because then now you're approaching that second.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I would want to get out by the end of this week, frankly, but because I've been burned before.
The way I would think, like if you're expecting a this week move and it doesn't happen this week, then you need to get out. You're just buying time to save against theta while it figures out that move. But overall, if it's not hitting your goal when you felt that it should hit the goal, then you're done with that trade. Go in for your next theory.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Anybody who got any other tickers? Have you?
So would that be a out of the money play or 480 or what we're looking at?
I think that was an out of the money, right?
So I looked at 3 different strikes. I looked at 485, 487.50, and 490. I think the compromise at 487.50 is probably a really good concept because it's only $2.32 a share and the delta is 0.27. So it's pretty close to our 0.3 target for out of the money short trades. I mean, if we're going to hold it until the whole move to the gap to fill the gap, right? Then that's awesome. But I just didn't know if 490 is really cheap, but the delta is pretty low unless you're comfortable buying more contracts, right? So this becomes a question of how does the play fit into your trading plan?
So are you looking at contracts in SIM by chance?
Yeah. I actually am looking at the moment. I was looking at TradeStation. So yeah, I was looking at SIM. Do you want me to pull that up on Thinkorswim and see if the prices are different?
Because I'm looking, they look different. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
Let me pull it up on Thinkorswim.
If it, because I'm in my live.
Yeah. I'm going to be in my live in a second. Yeah.
And I just want to make sure we're quoting things right. I'm looking at UNH.
Sure.
And like that's part of it. So like pull up your option chain to kind of follow along, because if
There it
Shane's not
is.
looking at what people is saying.
Okay,
But
so
we
options,
talk
let's
about
see.
that. Make sure we're all on the
Yeah.
same page.
Yeah,
It can
absolutely.
happen.
Okay,
It can
that's
happen.
July 7th weeklies. Here we go. So we were talking about the
They're still not out of
487.
reach, but they're not $100.
No, it's the same price. 487.50 is 232 a share. 490 is $1.87 a share. So 490 is the target at the top of that gap. So 490. So 485 is 325. That was
Oh, okay. I see how far
the more expensive one. Yeah.
490. Well, you said which one was $1? Because I'm not seeing dollars like at the
No,
bottom.
the 490 is $1.87. Nothing was $1. Nothing, even on Zim, nothing's $1.
Okay, $4.25.
No, at the 490 strike
Yeah.
for the July 7th expiration, it's $1.87 under the ask. And that's on
Oh, I see
Thinkorswim,
it now. Wrong date.
my live account.
July 14th. Sorry.
Okay, that's
See,
all right.
that's what I'm saying. That's why we gotta.
That's why we got to do the details. That's right. And you know, the math is worth doing. So it's really a question of how much you want to risk. Because I have been playing this game too with how many contracts, and you know, the question just becomes how comfortable are you with the risk if the trade goes against you and you're losing X percentage per contract. That's when it matters, right? When it's $1.87 or $2.32, at first it doesn't sound like a lot of money buying an extra contract, right?
Right, and that's at
But it just
$21
depends on your exit
delta.
strategy. Yeah. Yeah.
So that one's at a $20 delta. So you guys recognize that, it's about $200 on for $20 per dollar move.
But you know, the delta's lower on Thinkorswim. So you're right. There is a small difference as far as sim versus live.
Mm-hmm. And
so
then
the deltas are different.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
going to look at the 485 for a 0.3 delta, 0.31.
I was on the wrong date. That was more.
That's going to change the price.
So,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because I was like, I'm looking
Awesome.
at 400s, everything. And I'm like, where did she see one something? I was like, July 14th, July 7th. So, and I mean, July 14th. And I mean, either way, this stock is not that bad. It's even in a $4, because $400, because to get the 30 delta, you spend more like $300, $400, and that's still not that bad. It just depends on how you want to scale your percentage that you're gonna like trade, whatever percentage you calculated that you're gonna use for your day trades. If it's like 6% your account per day trade, then if that 6% is like $800, it's more like how do you want to use that $800? Because you can use that $800 and scale into like the lower contract, right? When Esther's talking about 187 at $20 a delta, or you can do less contracts at the 37 delta. You see what I'm saying? And because you're making way more per dollar move on that one with less contracts. So figure out that math where you sit comfortable and then pick your strike from there. So you want to keep everything within your range of like how much you want to risk on your account is really what it's like. And then because that's what I realized still, like once I realized this is how much money I really want to use. It's like, well, what's the best way to use that money and leverage that $800? Is it best to go super small, or is it like super small delta, or is it best slightly larger delta with less contracts? I think that's good to keep in mind, because I've definitely made some better money coming closer to price action with less contracts. Okay. I think I didn't even know what 2 hour, were you talking to me or were you talking to SPS, Deborah? I don't know what conversation you guys are having. So I like UNH. I'm gonna put down the list. UNH, Apple. So my UNH move. We're going bullish, right? We're doing a bullish. We're doing at least 2 weeks out. 2 weeks time probably on this one for the price. Your strike is up to you. I'm just gonna kind of leave that alone because y'all know what delta means. So it's up to you guys. You heard my mythology, you heard Esther's, both are fine. It's about where you're comfortable at as far as holding these contracts. Yeah, take it to 490. It gives it to us. 480 break. Right. It's UNH, okay. The 2 hour. This is the 2 hour how it looks, and it's not really it's doing a flag. It's not. We have no hard like turnarounds on the 2 hour. Right. So it could break, and it could definitely look. So I mean, Dasher did say what if. I mean, that's still the what if is still there that it can come and break this, but because I see how this wick is dipping into the fair value gap, it has to come. It has to come. So I'm hopeful for it. We're all hopeful for it right now. Well, we'll see what it wants to do. If it wants to take it out, it'll take it out. Come down and do a sweep. Change the color of this. 2 hour fair value gap. We can mark it under there. All right. Any other tickers, you guys? That was UNH. I should probably add that to the summer list. Summer list is slowly growing. I love it. With all 12 tickers are $12. Well, 7 and up, but we got some $12 ones. That's $10, $9. We're doing good here, y'all. I like it. All right. For the other tech fans in the house, don't see any other tickers. I'll just kind of go over the last few I have in my options watch list. There's a few other tech companies that we love, like Amazon, that has a nice gap over here, and it has a nice breakaway. Everything about Amazon, let's just cut the crap. Amazon looks like it wants to come up, and I think we should ride it up. Just keep it that simple. See you later, Esther. It is coming up. It gave us breakaway candle. Even this little pin right here, to me, is a signal that it wants to keep coming up, not a turnaround, not a decision. Yes, the next candle can do some wick action down. Of course, each candle usually has a wick on both sides, but I'm pretty convinced that it probably wants to come up. It's in this thing. It's like in it. The left, the wick is in it. Let's see. We would have to, it has the physical gap. Wait, I want to make sure I mark this physical gap right. Here, yeah. So the physical gap, let's do it this way. I'm gonna do some Amazon, excuse me, you guys. Whew. Physical gap, let's move this line to here. Let's take the wick gap, take the line, daily gap, purples, label it properly. You want to label it properly when it's something that you want to take, right? So this is the gap, like the physical gap. All right, let's put an alert on the open and the close. All right, let's see how that looks back at. Okay, so we're not even there yet. So that's even more exciting because we have money to make to the gap and then through the gap. And then it's like in a fair value gap with it. Like, I just feel like this is totally gonna like finish out. But I could bounce, but the amount of I mean, if you fake us out and you come down, I'm gonna be pissed. Amazon better come up here and don't play no games. I'm like pretty convinced that Amazon's gonna continue up with this pattern. Like, I cannot, like, come on, y'all. This is textbook beyond textbook. So look at Amazon on the list if you want a slow mover. I will buy time on this one though, because of that gap, because it hasn't really reached that gap yet. I do think it'll do some bounce action, but I do think it's still gonna go through it. Amazon doesn't move as fast, so you have to account for that. So I would do like a month out, if not more, on Amazon while you wait, because I do think it may take the whole week, if not into next week, to fill this gap. Depending on news, it may do it quick, which would be nice because Amazon has those moments, right, where it just wants to do it. But I will watch it as well and see what it wants to do, because I would just want to like run it up a few dollars, and I can like scale into Amazon and do that. Full small gap, because that gap is enough money for me. And then if it comes further up and tests the shoulder up here at 137, that could be it. But I don't mind these small scalps with Amazon. They're fun enough for me. I've done them before. It's a bullish gap. So, all right. And Amazon. Let's see who else. I'm kind of done with me. I can peek at crowd, but I'm not gonna like it. I already knew. AMD, AMD and NVDA are almost like inverses right now. I don't know what they kind of move similar, but right now you can't really bet on that. So AMD did an M and filled this gap down. This is one of those situations where kind of as we're talking about, like, well, we think the news will sweep this low, not on this one, because I think it's at its bottom. Should be coming back up, but after filling this gap, we'll see. Totally missed it. Didn't put any alerts on that gap move. It would have been kind of nice, but it is okay. Because AMD, it's about $5, so I guess it's creeping up there in speed. It fluctuates. All of these ATRs fluctuate a little bit, but overall, it can be kind of slow for my nerves, and I just have to kind of put more alerts on it to catch it if it's going to come back up here. I kind of see a potential run move, but I have to figure out how it's going to dance on this order block before it chooses to come back. Because I think based on how much movement it went down, I'm not expecting an impulsive. I'm just not. I'm expecting a dance and then a move. So I'll probably put an alert maybe above here and see when it. So like, let me leave this line down here. Then move this alert and see if it comes up and kiss. When it kisses the fair value gap on the way up, and kind of how that looks. Like AMD. All right. Some of the other ones are really slow. Bosch and Lomb, Thor, missed. Jacinia. I don't know if she's still holding it or what she's doing with it, but to me it looks like it wants to potentially make more highs, because even though I'm looking at this bottom here, I see it more as a retracement down to then continue up, but it has to do that indecision consolidation, figure it out between where it currently is and the next fair value gap before I think we see any more movement on it. I don't believe that it really wants to drop. I don't feel like that with Bosch and Lomb, but you know, that's just all. And that I'm not even drawing any lines, just kind of looking at the overall trend and what is kind of preparing to do with the fair value gaps that are there on a daily. LAZRs dropping back. I don't know when it's like recovering and dropping. It's this weird small snake up it's trying to do as it finishes this gap here too. But the drop downs are more drastic than I was expecting with this company. So it's making it hard for me to day trade against my shares. So I'm gonna have to do a different strategy with LAZR right now. I already looked at Lily. And I think that's about it. So we have 15 minutes to 6. Go back to my futures chart, because that's the chart's going to take off. Do you all have any other questions? Any other tickers? Any other news? I think, oops. I think Esther came in with the perfect news for the weekend that we needed to hear. So I appreciate that. I don't really have much else for you guys. That's the homework for, those are the tickers. So I'll do a post and recap the setups that we talked about. So for those of you who may have just joined or may have missed them, we have Adobe. All of our moves this week are bullish. I have no bearish moves except for this futures liquidity sweep. That's all I have right now till the market opens tomorrow and tells me different. But it's Adobe, Netflix, Apple, UNH, and Amazon. with a potential NVIDIA in there to hold. So Apple is a long hold, as well as NVIDIA being a long hold, with even possible Lilly being a long hold, because those are all all-time highs. Okay, so Apple, NVIDIA, Lilly, all-time high going long. And then the rest of them are Adobe, Netflix, and Adobe, Netflix, UNH, and Amazon all have like a day trade move that we could potentially take advantage of. All right. So I will give a summary of that. If you guys don't have anything else for today, thank you. I appreciate you guys joining this Sunday school call. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye.